Our Gaming Podcast, we dive in about Nintendo's latest playtest that leaked out. What a surprise. We also talk about Ubisoft disbanding the team behind Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Caboose is here to talk about the lack of DLC for Spider-Man 2, but also here to talk about Batman Arkham Shadows for the VR. This is a Gaming Podcast, episode 59. Welcome back to another episode of a Gaming Podcast, episode 59. Damn, we're really up there now. That's it, you know. So Caboose, we're old. That's it. Old news, you know.
Get off my lawn!
Get off my lawn, you silly kids and everything.
Back in my day.
Caboose, how's it going? Our resident Batman, what's going on?
Yeah, it's going good. It's going good. I'm glad to be back, and we have a lot of superhero gaming news to talk about. Some good, some bad. But I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Hell yeah. And then Camille, Miss Streamer, how's it going? That's
what?
you. You're Miss Streamer. Aren't you streaming?
Oh, yeah. I did like 2-3 streams and then I stopped. But, yep, streaming strong. I'm good. Also, how is that not a song?
It's not a song.
It is a song.
For our listeners who have no context as to what's happening right now,
So before,
Camille made up a completely non-existent song.
I didn't make up.
She's
Completely
experiencing
made it up.
severe forms of delusion.
What?
Weird.
What? I said the hardest button to button.
What's the song?
It's the song.
The White Stripes.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know that one.
Are you guys kidding me?
Maybe we were just out of tune, or you know,
Yeah.
I need the beat to remember it.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yes.
dun, 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 dun. No?
Oh, I know that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I know what
That
song
beat
you're
sounds
talking about.
familiar. The
That
hardest
beat, I know
button to
that beat,
button.
yeah.
Yeah,
I've
the
never
heard that
hardest
familiar.
I didn't hear the
button
lyrics
to
on that one.
button. Dun, dun, dun. No? Dun,
I know the
dun,
song,
dun.
yes.
Okay. Can you please
I
look
know.
it up, Caboose?
Oh, that's the actual song title.
Yeah, I didn't know
Oh.
that was actually a song title to that. I just know the
Yeah,
song.
I know the song.
Yeah.
I like how you guys called me out and it was just like, that's not a song.
We didn't
So
call you.
like we've
You
been
called-
saying from
you
the
brought it
start,
up.
like we've been saying from the start, that is a really good song that Camille.
It is a good song from an award-winning band, you know. But yeah, anyways, I'm doing good. I just got back from Montreal. I
Nice.
snuck some poutine across.
I'm not Canadian in that I don't like poutine.
What?
Yeah, I actually just don't really like gravy. I don't know. There's something about soggy fries that really doesn't entice me. I don't know what
But
it is though.
Then you never had a good poutine because the good poutine is like it's not soggy. It's still like you still got to.
But if you
Crisp-
set it
crisp.
aside for 2 minutes, you know, because like,
No.
but like I'm saying, like, are you one of those where it's like you gotta get through the meal right away? Because like sometimes I'm like, I like to have it in front of me. I'm watching something, you know,
Yeah.
and like you take
Take a
your like.
nap.
Yeah, you take your intermittent breaks in between bites, but like by the time you get to the end, it's just like now you're having like a stew or something.
No. It's like when you have a poutine, it doesn't like last. You finish it in 2
You got to go
minutes.
through it. Okay,
go
maybe
through it
I'm
quickly.
just having them wrong then.
You're having them wrong, and you're probably having the wrong ones. Okay,
That's fair.
Don't knock. The only
All
good thing
right.
we have going for us is Canada. Okay, well we
Oh
have
my
some
More
God.
than
good things.
that. We got
have a lot of
maple
good things.
syrup.
We got the gaming podcast.
We got the gaming
That is
podcast
true.
as well.
That is
You know,
true.
I'm gonna ask you to turn up your mic just a little bit, Camille, just a tiny bit, if you can.
Okay, first it's too low, then it's too high, now it's too
Well,
low. Make up your mind.
What? Just you're all over the place.
Is that better? That's probably better.
That's
Maybe?
better. That's good.
Okay, cool.
That's good. No, that's good. There's a nice in between, you know.
Is
That's
it,
what it does.
is it a nice in between, or are you just being difficult?
You know, hardest button to button. You know, Caboose. I swear. I swear.
Unbelievable, hey?
Unbelievable. Topic number 1 is Nintendo Switch Play Test Program. As soon as people were able to download it, guess what? It leaked out. What a surprise! 'Cause you got random people just signed up for it. Dude was just gonna be like, "Yeah, I didn't sign anything, so I'm
Who
just
would've
gonna talk about it." Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Well, who would have thought? It appears that Nintendo's attempting to develop their first MMO style game. Camille, as a resident Nintendo folk, is this something that you were expecting?
I have no idea. As a just as a resident
Calling in
fan.
our Nintendo resident professional here. Are you
Well,
surprised by this?
I'm not a Nintendo professional, but as a resident fan of Nintendo, I will
Mhm.
say, I honestly, when it comes to Nintendo, I never expect like I never try to set expectations because they always do things that are like no one expected and then it's like amazing and then great, or they'll do something that you expect or like put a twist to it that you don't expect. So no, but I think that's also a good thing, if that makes sense. You
Yeah.
know, like I do like when they like just kind of like cast the net really wide and do things that are unexpected Nintendo. And honestly, if this is the route that they are going, then I think it's like cool that they're exploring those fronts as well. Like it shows that they're looking to expand what Nintendo's known for.
I think it's a whole front for something else.
What's
Well, I
that
mean,
something else
well,
that you think it's a front for?
the,
It's
the
like a Game Pass or Miiverse type of thing
that
again.
makes sense for
Yeah.
me
Actually, yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think this is all like they're like we know this is gonna leak, so we're just put something fake out there, and then just but it's something that will still give us the results to what we want, like Miiverse or
I
whatever's been.
guess that's fair. You're bringing in 10,000 people who are just registering for this program.
Mhm.
You really gotta expect at that point, like something's gonna slip through the cracks. Somebody is
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say something that they weren't allowed to.
immediately it did.
So exactly right. And so I can understand that position of thinking, well, like they put something out in there in front of people where they think it's this one thing, but in the reality is that they just want to test server capability. They want to test like having this many people jumping online into a space at once for something like like a Miiverse for Switch equivalent.
Yeah.
That's an interesting theory. I think I subscribe to that one.
I would
Oh, but that
subscribe too.
right. I think that would like because like and especially that it's all different regions as well, like U.S., Italy, Japan, and
Yeah, very worldwide.
not Canada. Sadly, they don't
They don't
but
care about us over here.
I don't care about it. They're like America, Canada, same thing. You guys are like whatever.
Well,
You
North
joke, but that
North
is often
America.
what happens.
Yeah, it is. It's
Like
North
it's so
America.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, aren't you guys a state? Like, aren't you guys like the 51st state? Like, no, we're our own country. What are you talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
But oh, sorry,
oh,
Marcel,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh
Oh,
no,
I
I was
was.
gonna say like I think like that would be the most like that's what I think a lot of fans would be looking for Street Pass to come back in like a greater sense, the Mii's to come back. I think when the
Hmm?
Switch like launched, we were all like, "Rip Mii's." One of like our buddies, we left them to die in the Wii U. What's happening, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like seeing them come if they come back and they rise from the dead, the I don't know where I'm going, but then I think we'd be really happy. Like, what would we want to see from like a revised Street Pass? I guess is my question for you too. Like, what would you want to see from a revised like Miiverse coming or like a Miiverse coming to the Switch or the Switch 2?
That's another good question because I know the capabilities of like what Street Pass was just that you will meet someone, but some games will have like oh that person's character. I remember like Street Fighter, you get to fight that person's character or ghost data or something like that. If you met up with someone who had the same data for the game,
Yeah.
maybe it's that same capability. I don't know what you will do with like just information here, like just connecting people worldwide. Like maybe it's just gonna be Street Pass worldwide or something where like you don't actually have to cross because people nowadays they still collect Street Pass like at
Mm-hmm.
TwitchCon. As people are like, I can't believe I got like my lights lit up like someone has a Street Pass now. Like I was like, that's still going. Like that's insane.
Or
So, like maybe
people
Yeah.
just
like bringing their DSs to like
yeah, a street.
concerts and taking like pictures and like trying to street pass people
That's
at a
wild.
concert. Like that
Yeah,
is wild. And I have to think that Nintendo's seeing that stuff and they're like, you know, like they are always like I said, you never know what to expect because they kind of go with their own like you know what they feel is the next progression
yeah.
for either their hardware or software. But I think what I would love to see is seeing the Street Pass come back, but also be attached to like my Nintendo account or like an
Yeah.
app. Because carrying your Switch around, that's a big, like compared to a DS, it's much
Yeah.
bigger, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I
Yeah.
feel
Beefy.
like
It's beefy.
yeah, having an app to kind of recognize that where it tracks like, you know, achievements or like what games you're playing, your history on your Switch, where it's able to take that data and then fight other Mii's would be really cool in battles.
Hmm.
But like I think if they're able, and if this is exactly what they're doing, what, you know, some people are rumoring that they are doing, I think it would be really cool to show that like they're hopefully making internet more accessible on the
Yes,
this
for the love of
Switch.
God, please. Yeah, I feel like because due to their whole like network infrastructure, that's why Smash isn't that was as Smash was successful, but wasn't. It could have been even greater. It could have
Yeah.
been greater, honestly. But like it was due to like the network is just terrible, and like I feel like I kind of like, oh, I just played a game. Like, okay, I'm done playing the game. Like it's not like that game will still be played now. I would say,
Yeah.
Yes.
but if network was better.
100%.
And,
100%.
yeah, and not only that, and speaking about Nintendo doing wacky things as well, I'm not too sure if you guys saw what Sakurai did with all his YouTube videos. The man recorded all of them within a month, and every week he's been releasing videos for 2 years. And then the last video, he's like, "Oh, I look much younger there, right? Like, yeah, these were filmed 2 years ago.
What?
I've been developing a game the entire time.
That's crazy.
So every week he's been releasing a
That's
video because he
insane.
recorded all of them in 1 month. Had like a team, and like he spent like 900,000 yen or some crazy amount of like no cheap change, you know. And then his videos are not even monetized at all. But he's like, yeah, I just want to show like videos. But he did all that in a month, and then like, all right, like release these once a week. And they're like, this is the last video, and he's like, yeah, I look, and like you actually can see like, yes, he looks a little bit older and everything. But then you're like, yeah, I've been developing a game, and like now everyone's like, do Smash maybe, or
Wow.
you know, or Kirby, or what's the other one? Kid Icarus. That'd be another good one to come back again. But yeah, that Nintendo is always thinking outside the box. I wouldn't be surprised. But honestly, even if this was the final product, I wouldn't be surprised at that either. I'm like, yeah, that's a Nintendo thing to do. Like, just be
Yeah.
like, yeah, we just want to make an MMO game for the hell of it to rebuild the world, or wherever they say they hear beacons and everything here. So I don't know. Anything you want to add here, Kubus? Yeah. Or,
Yeah,
sorry.
Kubus.
No, I mean, I'm not as like well versed in the world of Nintendo as like you guys are.
Yeah. But here's something like this.
Shame
Would
on
you
you.
Would
here's something like
would
this?
I
Would
be
you
interested?
like, yeah, you'd be like,
You know, I mean, okay, so to educate me a little bit, Street Pass, from what I understand, is you take your DS places around the world and you just kind of you snapshots of certain things, or
No,
it's
like
so it basically
not
like
even.
I mean, you just walk by each other and
It's
it will
just a
trade.
like it
it censors
censors
it.
Oh,
other
okay.
Nintendo
Cool.
DSs,
Yeah.
and then your Mii character just has an interaction. So the next time you open your DS or your 3DS,
you'll see that.
You'll see who you street pass, and people would try to street pass like, you know, Reggie, right?
Yeah.
Like being at
I
an
read
and
that.
they
I read
would have
you.
Okay.
Reggie on their street
So
pass.
there's like
in
Street
their
Pass
DS.
white whales. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
I-
another just to add more to the street passing, there was so much more to it because like
Yeah, there's so
not
much.
only like you have his Mii, you could actually like save his Mii, and like if there was a game that had like a Mii integration,
Oh,
you use
okay.
his character in there. But then like if we had games like I know Tekken had like a 3DS game, and Street Fighter, if you had like a Ghost Fighter, I will have your information on that as well due to the street pass.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds interesting, but I mean, I feel like the reason why something like that was as successful, or maybe it's something that's still around to this day, has a lot to do with how easy it is to carry around a DS.
Mhm.
Camille, you mentioned like a Switch is a completely different thing in terms of a handheld device, and who knows, like if we get to a Switch 2, if it could be like even a little bit bigger, means that it's just a lot to want to carry around. But still, I mean, for that simple fact of if you go to like a summer game fest, or if you go to like the Game Awards and Reggie's just walking around and you happen to bump into, or Doug Bowser's walking around and you happen to bump into him and you get that street pass sort of thing, people would absolutely be into that. So I mean,
Yeah.
that could be really cool. That could be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I believe it's the test starts today. Actually, oh, it
Oh,
actually
okay.
at 9 p.m. Eastern time until the 5th. So we'll see much more.
You think a bunch of stuff's gonna leak in terms of like what
Oh
they're
yeah,
actually playing and doing? Yeah, yeah.
but there's people who are not obviously in like in the industry, or people who are like cover Nintendo news. Like this link it was open to anyone, honestly, and
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
just
It's gonna
click
get
on
out there.
people would just be like, oh,
But
I saw this thing,
yeah.
you know.
But
So
I think like Nintendo, they're smart enough. They've also kept like some of the biggest releases this year a wrap. I'm pretty sure everything would be reskinned if there is another
oh yeah,
product
I
outside
agree.
of what it kind of face value
The-
looks like.
yeah.
So I feel like if anything leaks, it would just be more of understanding how the tests are working rather than
yeah,
context.
I think so too. I think it would be more so about just like the concept in general of like
Mhm.
what they're trying to do here, what they're trying to accomplish, and less
yeah.
about like, here's this game. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Nintendo just, like we've said when we first jumped into the story, they have to know when you're
Mhm.
opening up a test like this to 10,000 people, and it's a completely open thing to sign up for. That somebody's just they're gonna post about it, or they're gonna
Yeah.
talk to somebody who's gonna post about it. You know?
Exactly. And like sadly Nintendo's always like since the whole Switch era, they've been a case of like their games leaking out all the time. Like I know like
Yeah.
currently right now, keep an eye out, the Brothership game is been leaked already. So like people are
Mm,
just putting thumbnails out there. So they know that people are very eager to like share their news, any news, honestly, just for clout reasons and everything.
for
So
sure. For sure.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what's going on here. I'm sure that whole thing's up front here, but just release the damn system, right? It was a system. I cannot wait for the day you'd be like, man, remember that time we were wondering what the Switch is, and then just to find out it's another Switch, you're
It's
something.
been a long freaking time since
It's
the
no
Switch
another
dropped.
OLED.
Yeah.
It's another OLED. It's an OLED
An
too.
OLED.
Yeah,
Mhm.
OLED
exactly.
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
How
Uh,
did I eat these? So many of them. Sorry.
Popeye sticks. You got your addiction. You last 2 episodes ago. You
It's
were
not even
like,
Halloween yet.
it's not
I
Halloween.
know. I like went to pick one up to grab a stick right now, and I'm getting shakes, guys.
Getting the
Shakes.
ritual. You got the withdrawals now. Look at that. Working meal. She's like, we got to end this episode. I need more sticks.
Let's wrap this up. Yeah.
Just wrap this up right
And
now.
that's the end of the episode. Wonderful.
Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown team has been disbanded. A lot of people were losing their minds yesterday. There's been more news that came out. A French journalist, Bat- Batos, that's I hopefully you say your
Mm.
name, but basically it became from Reset Era. Ubisoft has disbanded the game's development team at the Montpellier Studios with a side-scrolling Metroidvania action title that failed to meet Ubisoft's expectations terms of sales. At the beginning, when the game launched, it only sold 300,000. But now it recently been there's another rumor that's out there right now, which man, I don't know, people are finding this stuff out, man. This is wild. This is some crazy stuff. But it sold just 1 million units. Honestly, this is like a game of this caliber right here is like it's such a great game. I still consider my game of the year Prince of Persia. How good it is. I still talk a high praise. I see a lot of people talk a high praise about it. But the reason why the team has been disbanded is as well is because they're actually moving on to work on a Rayman game. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so there's
I mean,
this there's
that's
a
at
whole
least
mix of like emotions going on for the
yeah.
last 24 hours because people are like, "What is Ubisoft doing? The game that's so good, you disband the team? Like, what's going on here?" And like, I don't know. What do you think, Caboose?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that's kind of like you said it yourself, a roller coaster of emotions that I know a lot of people must have went through. But if they're working on the next like Rayman, then that's kind of like the best possible news to come out of bad news like this, right? Like you have a really talented team that worked on a great game that a lot of people loved. It's definitely unfortunate that they couldn't get the sequel. I mean, the industry is just so cutthroat right now. It is very difficult to get these games out there, to get games that are genuinely good in people's hands. And I think a lot of it has to do just because of the fact that people these days, third person action adventures are my favorite kind of game, no doubt about it. But they have absolutely ruined gaming because for a lot of people out there, a general consumer, a general like person who just goes to like Walmart or Best Buy to buy a game, they're going to be more enticed by something like Uncharted, something like Spider-Man, than they will be by something like what we got with that Prince of Persia game. That's just the unfortunate reality of it. So it sucks that they're not going to be able to get the sequel, that they weren't able to fight for that, even given the success of the game critically. But if there is a positive spin on it, it's that they're going to work on something that a lot of people might be really excited for, and you can back and hopefully support to the point that maybe they could get the funding at some point down the line to make that Prince of Persia sequel that they wanted.
Yep. It's wild to me because the game just now arrived on Steam, like just now, like in September.
Yeah.
And this is one other example of like why you got to put your games everywhere, which they put like I don't understand their mentality, because yes, they have their Ubisoft Play platform, but then they will put games on Epic, but you got to pay, I believe, the same amount, like whatever the Epic tax is for them,
Yeah.
like 30%. So if you're willing to do that on day and day, why not just throw it on Steam as well? Like,
yeah, the slow rollout thing on like different platforms like this is always so weird, because like even if your game is like a massive success, even if a ton of people are going crazy about Prince of Persia, by the time it does inevitably arrive to Steam, people have moved on to other games. Like if you're waiting for that game to come to Steam, the amount of time that it takes to get to that platform, it's enough time for somebody to say, I'm just going to try something else.
I wonder if it's like, and I think it's like this is like the huge question mark when you see those slow rollouts with games on different platforms. I wonder if sometimes the contracts actually show. So like if they have a contract with Epic for the Epic Store, it's like exclusive for X amount. For X amount of like months, or like for a year or whatever, till it could roll out on something like Steam. Like given how we see, like, as consumers, the platform side of exclusivities, console PC, I feel like that also has to do with some of these like platforms that offer you to download the game essentially as well. Like when they're signing these contracts, and like maybe it was a situation of like Epic's offering them more money to put it exclusive on their platform for X amount of months. We're just gonna do that before rolling it out everywhere.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like the game came out on January, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, PC on Ubisoft Connect. During that time, it was just there was Power World. Remember that, man? What a time that was. Power World came out. Tekken 8 and Like a Dragon came out, or Last of Us remaster on PlayStation only. So it wasn't too crowded. And then when you bring out a game on one of the highest platform where all the players are and everything, and September's like had Final Fantasy 16, Lucky Squire, God of War came out, Dead Rising. Like the list just keeps going. Like you're not gonna win that battle. Like as good as the game is, when people hear like, "What, I can play God of War on Steam finally?" Okay, let's do that. Or Marvel's like Capcom Steam, collections came out that same month as well. Like, I'm sorry, you're not winning that. Like, no one's gonna care about your game at that time.
Not that I can even remember too, when I can't remember what was around Prince of Persia, like when that game released, like what other games were coming out around that time. But
like Last of Us, Tekken 8, and Like a Dragon. It was like the only new games.
And those were kind of around that same time. I mean, that's very tough to compete with. But even still, like at that point,
but it's tough to
you just got to put it all out there on every platform and make it available, because you're fighting against giants, and delaying that Steam release, it just makes it so that, like, again, your game becomes more forgettable. And it becomes and to the point too, like consumers only have so much money to spend. So if they're having to choose wisely between, do I want to buy The Last of Us on PC? Do I want to get Like a Dragon or all these other games, or do I want to get Prince of Persia? It's tough. It's very tough. Again, like I said, very, very cutthroat industry right now.
Absolutely. I'm not too sure how much they were even expecting to sell or as well. Like $1 million sounds good to me, but like I can imagine budget for this game. Like
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like $1 million. I mean, consumer side compared to dev side, right? Like understanding what numbers make it or break it on, I don't know, but I feel like as a consumer, it sounds good. It sounds like something I would have expected for something like Prince of
Yeah,
Persia,
exactly.
right? But it could also be like, maybe the numbers need to be much closer to the goal. Like even if it is 500,000 units off, like maybe that is significant enough to say, hey, like,
Or
let's
even
put
if
this on
it's
pause and maybe bring it back. Because
yeah,
that's the other thing too of like, we keep talking about like, okay, these are great games that are coming out, but also do we want to be caught in a loop of sequels that just kind of make the importance of that game kind of dwindle down, right? Like it's not
yeah.
making as much of an impact as an IP as it would if it was just The Lost Crown, and like we kind of put that to rest because we know Sands of Time is coming out again sometime, right,
Sometime
in
down
the
the road. Yeah.
future, right? So it's like let's just kind of put a hold on Prince of Persia for now.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I don't know. I hope this game gets like another resurgence, especially at the Game Awards, because I see a lot of people in the industry highly giving this game a lot of praise, and hopefully it can win like some award, like Indie Game of the Year or something like that. I don't know who's gonna win Game of the Year. It's still my Game of the Year right now, just from the games I played. It's still a game. I'm like, damn, like that was a really good game, and especially with the DLC that came out, $5, you get like 4 hours out of it. And like it just reminded me how great the game was as well.
It's
Um,
great to hear the game got DLC.
Oh yeah. Soon. We'll talk about that soon. I'll get this mention one more quick thing. One
Poor
more quick
guy,
thing
poor
I
guy.
was like, damn, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Camille, you'd be happy to know that majority of the team also moved on to work on your game, Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Ooh.
Whatever that is.
At
Game
some point,
Awards. I feel like Game Awards. Game Awards. Game Awards.
we can hope. We can
I'm
hope.
gonna manifest it. Game Awards. Game Awards. Game
All right, we'll see. As Caboose said, a game that did not get. We'll end on a good note, so we'll definitely move to this one right here.
Sure.
A game that didn't get any DLC. Yeah, Spider-Man 2, huh? Coming to PC. Almost got it to this year. We were close.
But nah, no cigar.
I was close. Hey, you get that victory. I'll give you that.
Damn right.
You suffered enough.
Yeah, I've been through enough.
Just give him this win. Just give
Yeah.
it to
You
him.
get this one. Even if it's January, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Did you want to also dive in about like what was planned as well?
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, as you mentioned, New York Comic Con came around, and I'll be honest. Listen, there was a couple of events this year where it was like, this is the time, Spider-Man DLC, it's gonna happen. Summer Game Fest came and went, nothing. A PlayStation State of Play that was like a mini PlayStation Showcase came and went, nothing. And then New York Comic Con kind of rolls around. Marvel Games has a panel, and they said we have a special announcement. And I'm usually the one who's like, I'm going to make a video, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to try and set expectations and tell people to just lower them, right? This time I was like, no shot. New York Comic Con's not usually the place where announcements happen. New York Comic Con's not usually the place where you see any sort of like noteworthy stuff on the level of like what you get out of a San Diego Comic Con, for instance. And then I'm like at an event. I see a buzz on my phone from Insomniac Games that says just announced, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm of course the one time I'm away, they just announced the DLC, but it turns out
always happens though.
We're getting the PC port in January for Marvel Spider-Man 2, which
Yes!
I mean that is exciting. The mods are gonna go crazy. I can't wait to see what people do with the game. It's gonna be awesome to kind of put that power into some of the players and let them have fun, because that for me was like it allowed me to put so many hours into the first Spider-Man game and Miles Morales. When those games came to PC, you're damn right I want to swing around the city as Shrek or CJ from San Andreas. So like I can't wait. I can't wait to see what people do with Spider-Man 2. But alongside the announcement of a PC port for the game, in their PlayStation blog, they officially announced that there is not going to be any DLC for Marvel's Spider-Man, which is very, very unfortunate. For Marvel Spider-Man 2. They officially stated something under the lines of, there are no additional story content plans for Spider-Man 2, but then they talked about all the things that are coming to Spider-Man 2 when it drops on PC. And yeah, I mean, I'm personally I'm disappointed, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I think I understand the reason as to why this is happening. After Spider-Man PS4, when that DLC dropped, it wasn't very favorable in the community. People didn't really love that DLC expansion. I think the Black Cat introduction was cool.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff they were doing with Hammerhead was interesting. But once they were creating like this amalgamation between Silvermane and Hammerhead and the whole Silver Sable like finale, it was like, this is wacky. You know,
it
this
was
isn't
weird
really.
that they did like the same Silver Sable like
Yeah.
focus out of all the things they could do.
It just didn't feel
Yeah.
kind of in line in terms of the level of quality of writing in the base game. And so I guess, 2 years later we get Miles Morales, and it feels like maybe that's just more the workflow that Insomniac is comfortable with. AAA game, 2 years drop, smaller sized game that's like from that same franchise. So with that said, I'd say a Venom game is like very, very likely at this point. Insomniac's folks have teased it already. They've got a playable Venom in Spider-Man 2, so you've already got like certain assets in there that you can then build upon in a full-fledged Venom game. And there are loose threads in Spider-Man 2, which is why we all thought there was going to be DLC. The whole Carnage thing, the whole thing with Chameleon. I don't know how you could do Chameleon in a Venom game, but you could definitely have a Venom game where Carnage is the main villain, right?
It's so sad because Chameleon would have been a really great DLC.
Would have been so cool for DLC.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because like how they did that story, I was like, oh,
yeah, I know.
But so okay, you're saying like highly probable we may see a Venom game.
I think so.
Small scale, like Miles Morales. What would you want to? Because this is where me and Caboose could spend hours.
Oh yeah.
What would you want to see from that story?
I think the first
how they ended Spider-Man.
Yes, yeah. I think the first thing you got to do, because this was the hardest like uphill battle for Insomniac to climb when they first started like pushing marketing for Spider-Man 2. Eddie Brock is not Venom in that game. Yeah. And that was a problem for a lot of people. Now, for me, it was more like I'm going to give it a chance because it's a different interpretation. It's a new take. And there have been a lot of people who have been Venom in the comic book, so it's like let's see how it goes. But yeah, like if you're gonna make a Venom game, if that's what's happening, it's time to get
Eddie Brock.
Time to get Eddie into this universe officially introduced. Time to give him the symbiote. Time to maybe play a little bit on that rivalry between him and Peter Parker. But then also like the movies are kind of the most popular interpretation of Venom as of late. And we know Marvel loves their brand synergy, so let's go the Lethal Protector route. Let's give him that anti-hero aspect to him, and let's make Carnage the big bad that we got to take down as Venom. I think that could be really cool. And you know what? I want to see Life Foundation symbiotes. Get me Riot, get me Lasher, get me like Agony. Bring all these other really cool symbiotes into the mix. That stuff is super duper fun, and that was some of the most fun that I had in the main story. Like towards the end, you got Scream popping up. I was like, "This is sick!" That's crazy. So like all sorts of stuff like that, I would love to see in a Venom game. Just go all out with the symbiote action, and then just wrap it up in a neat little bow. Let it like maybe Eddie kind of goes off, he does his own thing, and that's it. We can kind of keep that character to the side in case it's successful. We can make a Venom 2 and 3, right? But I want the symbiote storyline to kind of be out of the way for Marvel Spider-Man 3. Like Spider-Man 3, for me, it's gotta be Green Goblin, Doc Ock, going toe-to-toe. No Venom, no Carnage, no symbiotes, I honestly, I really hope that the whole anti-Venom suit, like I hope that's gone in Spider-Man 3. I don't want him to have it. I don't want any of those like extra abilities. I want it to just be my boy Spider-Man in his classic suit, Miles, not in whatever suit they gave him towards the end of the game. Like anything but the Colgate suit. Anything but the Colgate suit. And just have them going toe-to-toe against Doc Ock and Green Goblin. That's what I'm hoping for out of Spider-Man 3. But yeah, like there's a lot of things that they really could have fun with in a Venom game, and they have a playable character to build on and to create new moves out of. Alternate suits, alternate looks is totally easy to apply for Venom. Give me that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Blue Venom in a 3D, AAA style game. That would be sick.
They can even do the movie style Venom if they wanted.
Sure, why not? Why not? Take away one of the most iconic features of the character. Just get rid of that logo for sure.
Get rid of that logo.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
But my thing, like, honestly, Caboose, I could totally see a Venom game as well, small scale, like Miles, similar to how Miles
Yeah.
Morales was not necessarily the origin story because we understand how he became Spider-Man
Yeah.
after the first Spider-Man game, but it's like really him coming to his own. It's kind of like Venom coming to his own, and I think finding
Yes.
Eddie Brock. I wouldn't want to necessarily see the arrival of all the other symbiotes, just because I feel like that would be too cluttered for like a 15
It
hour
could be. Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
15, 20-hour experience. But I think definitely a storyline with Eddie Brock, and you're right, like put him to the side, put that Venom storyline to the side, focus on Green Goblin, and then bring him back if you want to, you know?
For sure. For sure. And as well, like, I don't know. I just feel like they could have a ton of fun with something like this. Like, there's a lot of comedic things you can do with it, and I know as well that they pulled a lot from the Donny Cates run, from
Yeah.
Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's whole introduction of Null, and like they have the swirl on all the symbiotes in Spider-Man 2. For as much as it's like that is some of my favorite stuff for Venom right now in comic books, that completely redefined and recontextualized that character in comic books. I really hope that we don't get like a Venom game and it's like, here's Null, you know what I mean? Like, this is a villain that is like Thanos level, that is like Avengers level threat. He really is a world ending, like, this guy is going to wreak havoc. So if we're gonna get to Null, let's like build up to it. We know a Venom game is gonna sell. You know it's gonna make a ton of money. You know it's gonna be super successful, even if the story is like okay. Because like Spider-Man games are like pizza. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it doesn't matter if you have like a kind of crappy slice of pizza. It's good because it's pizza. You know what I mean? Like, pizza is always good. So I think the worst Venom game will still be all right. You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to sell well. I think it's going to do well. We're probably going to, if they make a Venom game, they would probably make it a franchise into a Venom 2 or a Venom 3. So if Null is the big plan, let's slow build to it.
Yeah. I don't know. We could keep going back and forth.
Yes,
but,
we could.
Because I don't think that they would make it a full, like, its own IP just because of how focused they are in terms of the Spider-Man story. And, like, maybe Venom coming back at a later point. Hopefully not for 3.
Yeah.
But do you feel like the leaks played into this decision?
That was actually one of my
Oh
cases.
boy.
Nice.
Played into the decision of what to like not do DLC.
DLC. Yeah.
I really don't think so. I feel like for as much as that the Insomniac hack and the leaks and this and that were like very out there, and for as many people as I imagine have seen some of these things, at the end of the day, like I don't think there was anybody out there that saw these leaks and was like, well, I guess I'm not gonna play this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there was anyone who like would have seen a hypothetical Venom game or something and been like, well, it leaked, so I'm not getting it, you know?
Yeah.
So I really feel like it was
like
just
the Insomniac situation. We're like, well, fine, we're gonna take our ball and go home now.
yeah. I honestly,
I'm going home. Forget it.
I don't even think that's the case either, right? Like, I don't think it was like well, it leaked, so you know what, we're gonna cancel it out of spite or anything like that. That there's too much money involved, and there's also like there's so many different factors in play, right? Like, you got Marvel, you got PlayStation, right? Like, there's so many different big wigs and suits who are calling the shots here, or who are at least like helping supervise big decisions. And I doubt they're going to be like, yeah, can it, guys? Let's just drop this. So there's too much money involved. And if anything, these leaks, the Insomniac hack, more and more with each passing day, it's proving why it's so terrible, you know? And a big part of that is these plans change on the dime, on the daily, constantly. You're dealing with massive IPs. AAA studios are involved here with tons of resources and work put into it. You're not, this isn't Kevin Feige in the MCU where they say, we've got the next 10 movies mapped out.
Oh my God, don't even get me started right now with Blade.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right?
Hey, only one Blade, all right?
There's only ever going to be one Blade. Yeah.
One Blade, right?
Yeah. So it's like these plans constantly change, and it's unfortunate for that hack to have happened because it created a false expectation amongst the community. It instilled a ton of hope for us that like this was totally going to happen. It had to have, you know?
And I think that's our hope, right? Because even Insomniac said, hey, these leaks were like this, and content was like from years before.
Right.
And I think maybe they thought of doing DLC content, which is why
For sure.
some of that stuff was in the leaks. But I do think by the time the leaks came out, they already knew they weren't going that direction.
Yeah.
And we're already starting to work on the next thing. And I wonder if that next thing is Wolverine. Do we see Wolverine in the next year?
So
in terms of sneak peek or...
So lots of rumors have been popping up from albeit not the most reliable sources in the world. But there have been rumors out there that Wolverine, like marketing, PlayStation's gearing up. They're getting ready to start to show more from this game. And I can very well see that being the case. The Wolverine game was announced at the same time as Marvel Spider-Man 2, which granted, Spider-Man 2's trailer was an in-engine trailer. Yeah. Wolverine's trailer was literally he busted out the claws and they showed the title, right?
It was all CG, yeah.
It was all CG.
It was powered by PS Pro. They knew.
Yeah.
PSSR,
So Wolverine's trailer is definitely more of like a concept, more of like for as much as it's marketing for the fans to get excited about the prospect of a Wolverine game, it's also for people to be enticed to want to work in the studio. That's why any game is announced that early. For anybody who ever complains about this stuff, when games are announced 5 years ahead of when they actually come out, it's because they want talent. They want people to work at their studios, so they need something that's out there to entice them to. But I do think because of the fact that Wolverine was announced at the same time as Spider-Man 2, it's been 4 years almost now since that announcement. We are coming up on that AAA dev cycle when games usually come out. And Insomniac, they've been cooking since 2018. Spider-Man PS4 remastered, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Miles Morales, and Marvel Spider-Man 2 in the last 4, 5, 6 years. Like, that's insanity. No other AAA studio out there is doing what they're doing. So yeah, I totally could see that either at the Game Awards, Summer Game Fest next year, we start to see Wolverine pop up and we start to see like, hey, this game's on its way. We're making progress.
When was that? Remind me when Wolverine was originally announced that it was in the works. Was it
2021?
Was it in
PlayStation Showcase? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would it'd be really cool if at the Game Awards, I mean, Blade, we got that trailer for Blade last year. If we get another Marvel trailer and it is more a fully, I don't think we're going to see any gameplay at this point, but if it is more of like setting up what is the premise or what is this
of the Wolverine game,
Wolverine looking like. Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning that per like other reports and rumors from people like Jeff Grubb, it's not going to be an open world, right? The scale of Wolverine in comparison to Spider-Man is going to be much smaller, you know?
But that makes sense.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
For the character,
absolutely,
and the world that Wolverine, the story 100%. Takes place in.
100%. That totally works for his character. You want it to be more of like going to different locations that are kind of relevant to the character in the comic books, right? And yeah, you want it to be probably a bit more linear. I think that the rumors are pointing that there's going to be like kind of like semi-open worlds, like hub worlds, essentially, kind of akin to what God of War from Santa Monica, what they did. And with that, what I'm trying to say is a smaller scale means a quicker dev cycle. You know, they have a new playable character. It's completely different from anything that we saw in Spider-Man, but it's smaller in scale in terms of like, you don't have a massive open world and you don't need to create this character's traversal to complement that open world, right? Like you've got semi-open worlds, linear missions, and Wolverine, right? Like there is a lot to do there for sure in terms of work, but I can't imagine that it's as much of a Herculean effort as a Spider-Man game is.
Yeah. I feel like what may have, and like, let me know what you guys, what all your opinions are on this, but what it changed their like plan from, because they do plan things out. Like we saw like the year they were planning to do like the DLC for Carnage and other stuff, and then Game of the Year edition as well. But maybe they thought they saw the success of Miles Morales because it sold 14.4 million units worldwide. Which
Miles Morales did?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Which gave them a 240
when it's PC too, I guess. When is that? When does
this is as of June 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it turned profit of 242%.
Yeah,
for an investment.
they are
Well,
definitely making smaller games. They are making more smaller games. Like,
through DLC, let's just
Yeah.
do this because this is
Yeah.
like it's not a full on game, but it's like a nice meal.
Yeah, that Venom game is happening.
It's just like,
Totally happening.
and it's
242% in the profit. Like, that is insanity. I mean, 14 million units for Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think any idiot out there who's trying to say Miles Morales is Miles Morales could keep their mouth shut probably forever, because that's crazy. That is crazy. People, for a lot of people these days, Miles Morales is their Spider-Man, and that's totally valid. After the Spider-Verse films, after these games, he is such a prominent character in all media for the character for Spider-Man in general. And so I think that's crazy. I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe at some point down the line you get like a Miles Morales too, like another Miles Morales. Hell, we get to Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
We get to Spider-Man 3. They're setting up Silk. Can you imagine the next smaller scale game being Silk and Miles like together? Like that could be awesome.
Yeah.
That could be really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that was just one thing I saw there, and like once again, things could change, and they're probably like, hey, look how well this did us, how well this game took off. We're in a position where we should just change this into its own thing as well, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, end of the day, we're still getting Spider-Man, and we're still getting something from Insomniac. We're still winning. It's like exactly. It was canceled, So
it's a bummer. I'm only particularly disappointed just because of some of those loose threads that I just don't want Spider-Man 3 to be bloated. Is all. Like a DLC could have complemented Spider-Man 2 really well for the simple fact of some of those loose story threads that they were setting up inside content to be wrapped up in like an expansion. So I just hope that when we get to Spider-Man 3, it's very focused on the
you don't
plot,
want it
right?
to be like an actual Spider-Man 3.
No, I don't want it to be like the movie Spider-Man 3.
You don't want no dancing scene either.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I do.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
Quick time events.
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. I saw Yuri do that dance at San Diego Comic-Con. The dude jumped up on the tables and started doing, it's iconic. It's iconic. But yeah, I think more smaller scale games are on the way for sure. And it just means at the end of the day, we're going to get more games in less time from Insomnia.
Absolutely. How about Batman? How's it being Batman?
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. So we can end on, like you said, a bit of a good note.
Good note here. Exactly.
So Batman Arkham Shadow is out. It is a VR exclusive. It is for the MetaQuest 3 exclusively. And I said in my review that like, if the price point, if the fact that like VR can kind of make you motion sick, if certain like things like that are what's deterring you from this game, I totally get it. I totally understand. Completely valid to be of that opinion. But
does it work on the S as well? Sorry.
The 3S, yes.
Okay, so yes. Any 3 series, okay.
Yeah. And I think there's a bundle right now out there for the MetaQuest 3S that comes with the game, and it's priced at $299 US. It's honestly a crazy deal for a really good VR headset. If like you want to get into VR, that's your entry point. But again, I understand if some people are turned away by VR because it might give them motion sickness. I understand if the price point is just not worth it for only one game that you might be interested in. I totally get that if that's the position that a lot of people are in. But if a lot of people are sitting there saying, why couldn't this, a game that was pitched by a VR studio when no AAA studio is pitching a Batman Arkham game, not a third-person action adventure and instead a VR game? It's like let's just not be ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like let's just be honest with ourselves here, okay? It was between we got nothing or we got this, and it turns out what we got it's pretty excellent. Like I'm not gonna lie, this is a really solid entry into the Batman Arkham franchise that expands on the lore. It's a true sequel to Arkham Origins, which I know a lot of people have wanted. It's got like a lot of the same voice cast that you might remember, some new voices in there. Like Elijah Wood is Jonathan Crane in this game, which is so sick. He puts on such a good performance in this game too. It's wild. It's an awesome game. It's super duper fun.
Even Troy Baker is in it.
Troy Baker is back as Harvey Dent. That's right. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
voiced that character across the entire franchise, which is awesome. Roger Craig Smith is back as Batman, and he is crushing it in this game. Even who was the voice of Harley? Why can't I remember her name? Tara Strong. Tara Strong.
Oh, okay.
She's back again as Harleen Quinzel in this, again, considering it is a sequel to Arkham Origins. She hasn't become Harley yet, but you get a good peek into like that little step forward leading us into Arkham Asylum, which is awesome. It's really, really well made. The story is very interesting. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's one specific reveal in the story that was like, for me, top 10 like Batman Arkham moments. And yeah, like tons of really good stuff in here, and it's a workout. The combat is a workout, but it's in the best ways. If you were wondering like how are they going to do free flow combat in VR, that was my main concern and question. They pulled it off. It takes liberties and it's retooled to fit the confines of VR, but when you play it, when you go into a combat encounter, you're like, oh yeah, this is an Arkham game. Like they were not holding back on anything. And for transparency's sake, I did consult on this game. I was brought out by Meta to their offices, to their HQ, to play the game and provide feedback so that the team at Camouflage can do some like necessary last touches. But I will say like that experience.
Congrats.
Yeah,
as well.
thank you.
That's pretty cool.
That experience, getting to play through the game and getting to just talk to those developers and see firsthand, these guys didn't mess around, man. When it came to lore, when it came to continuity, they paid attention to every single minute detail, down to the point where when it comes to like the origins of certain characters, they say the exact line that in like audio recordings from the older games they say, right, that they are supposed to have said. Like they paid attention to the comic books. They paid attention to Arkham Origins Blackgate, the PSP or the Vita version of Batman Arkham Origins. They paid attention to even Rocksteady's VR game. They were firing on all cylinders here, and you can tell they were not messing around. Like when they were given this IP, they understood the responsibility of it. They understood the legacy of the Arkham franchise, and they wanted to honor it, and they wanted to make sure they handled it with utter respect. And I feel like if you're an Arkham fan, if you love this franchise, if it means a lot to you, you would be hard pressed to walk away from the experience of playing this game disappointed.
Yeah, I was watching. Sorry, go ahead, Camille. You want?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was watching Kind of Funny. They had them on yesterday.
Yes.
And they did mention. I was like they did mention a consultant. Like when they discovered something on how they lost their mind. I'm like, Caboose? Are they talking about Caboose? Maybe a little bit there. I don't know, but
there was a couple of things where like
a couple of things they talked about. It like when we saw one of our consultants like reacting to something, then we knew we nailed it. I'm like, Caboose, maybe
it might have been me. I definitely had a very like what the reaction to something in the story of the game. And to be honest, it's one of those things that I was very surprised I didn't see coming. But it's the story. It's written so well, and they hide just enough that I feel like you could be blindsided by the thing that I'm talking about. There are there's other reveals I will say that are extremely predictable. And the story kind of suffers for it, but you're able to I was able to at least forgive it enough because of some of the other things that happen in the story that really landed for me.
Yeah.
And outside of that, like VR games, they still visually are just not to the level that I know a lot of people want from video games these days. We're spoiled by how good games can look on a PS5, a Series X, or even on our PC, to the point where when you look at a VR game, you're like, is this a PS3 game? But as an Arkham fan, Arkham City is my favorite video game of all time.
Yeah.
The visuals very much matched that style for me. So I was never like, oh, this looks bad. I was just like, oh, this looks like Arkham City. And yeah, so I thought that for that reason, it was really solid. The team at Camouflage told me that a large inspiration for this game was Arkham Asylum, and you can really tell what they were talking about when you play it. You have a large portion of the game take place within Blackgate Prison, and you can feel those tight corridors. You can feel that kind of like claustrophobic vibe. It's not as eerie and as atmospheric as Arkham Asylum is, I don't feel like any Arkham game is ever going to be able to match that atmosphere. But again, in terms of just the structure, you can see why that was the inspiration they were taking. It's a solid game. If you're trying to get into VR, this is a great game to get into. It's not a 2-hour tech demo. This is a full-fledged, like, 10-hour story with lots of stuff packed into it. It's got combat challenges. It's got, stealth challenges for you to jump into after you beat the story with leaderboards and everything. So if you want to compete to try and get the best score, that's totally available for you. It's a great game. It is a great game.
How is this for, like, because I'm not big on VR because I'm still like, I feel a little sick after a while and everything like that.
Yeah.
How is this game for like introduction? If someone is like, 'cause when I did see it, I was like, this actually looks really good. I'm actually interested in this game. Part of me do wishes like, damn, I wish it was like a non-VR mode for this game because the story seemed really very interesting as well. So, but how is this as an introduction? Like, would this be like, hey, if you are gonna get into VR, this is the game that will. This is a good
it's gonna be tough. I don't know to what level you experience motion sickness.
The most I did was like the Assassin's Creed one, and like, they had to tone it down just a little bit. But like that was when they toned it down, I'm like, okay, I feel okay now. But like even like experiencing the first like the normal level, I was like, this is a little much.
Yeah. So there are settings that'll allow you to kind of tune the play so that if you get motion sickness, you can hopefully not. Like there are things in the settings to try and help players out to experience motion sickness when playing VR games. I think what helped me the most, as somebody who also, after a long session can be like, can get a little dizzy, what helped the most, and I think what's really impressive about the game from an accessibility standpoint is you can play the entire game sitting down.
Okay.
Like it's obviously it adds a little more to the combat and the experience overall if you're standing up and if you're in it, but there were times obviously when you're jumping through like a 3-4 hour session that staying on your feet for that long can be a bit tiresome. So there were times where when I was at Meta HQ or even just going through my second playthrough here at home, I would just play sitting in my chair and I was just as immersed and it felt a little more relaxing that way and a little less taxing in terms of the dizziness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Bill, do you want to ask something?
Yeah, like I think it was just like, my experience with VR, I did get a little bit of motion sickness as well, Marcel, with that, but hearing you talk about like how the story is really good, like as a fan, like I think I would be willing to forego my hesitation for motion sickness just because I think especially if you're outside of like the VR gaming world and you're not like consistent with it, usually it has the perception of like, oh, it's not really, it's more like for the experience of like that depth visually, but not necessarily for story. I find is usually hard to find in a VR game that's like really captivating. But it's just really cool that they put that level of dedication. It almost makes me feel like I wish this will also come out somehow on like PC or something down the road. Just so fans that don't have either, if they get motion sickness or can't afford VR, they can experience it because it's gaming. Really
I hope so too. I hope it comes to like PlayStation VR 2 and things like that. Like that is for sure one of the other really unfortunate situations is this game, while it's a VR game, it's also a VR game that's exclusive to the MetaQuest 3. So it makes it really difficult for a large player base that there may be for VR fans to still not have that opportunity. So I hope maybe down the line, maybe it is a timed exclusive thing and we can see this on other VR platforms.
Yeah, because I definitely did see like there's a lot of detail here that even I was like, this is really cool. Like I remember when they were showing off, like once again I was watching the Kind of Funny feed, and Barbara shows up, and like at one point, she's gonna like walk like oh, okay, I want to leave, and he was just standing there, and she's like, can you move? I want to leave. I'm like, oh, and then you actually could like literally like stretch your arm out, and she's like, oh, excuse me, I'm trying to like they interact to what you're doing. So like the level of detail of what you're doing, like the game will like adapt to that. So like I can't imagine how many voice lines they have, because like if you were like just to see like something or like, oh, let me just reach over here, and they're like, hey, you're in my way, can you just can you move out of the way? Like it's kind of neat to see how much detail they put on
There's
this
a
as
lot of
well.
detail. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah,
So
it's great.
here's my question for you, because the level of detail camouflage put it in everything here. Do you want them to tackle a non-VR game like Batman game?
I don't know. I don't know if what Camouflage's capability is outside of VR games.
Yeah.
They're known to be a VR studio. Those are the kinds of games that they make. I think I would love if we made like another Arkham Origins sequel. If we made like
Yeah.
another AAA game, I would love for them to have a hand in consulting on it, or to
Yeah,
have a hand
like
in the
story wise,
story.
like say they're like, hey, we'll handle the story. You guys do the
Writing and things
yeah.
like that. They did a fantastic job. I would be more than happy for them to be involved in that process at some point,
Yeah.
or in some way. But I'm not sure what they're capable of if they were to try and make like a third person
Yeah.
Arkham game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. No, like if I can recommend, I have to recommend this game. Like from what I saw, it was especially the person who doesn't play VR. Like, it looked really good. It's also reviewing very well as like at 85 on
Yeah.
Metacritic as of right
Yeah.
now. So definitely pick it up if you have the MetaQuest 3 or 3S as well. Like, and especially get that bundle as well, because like that's definitely a big steal, especially
For
if
sure. For
you
sure.
know,
If you're looking to
it
get
just makes
into
sense.
it, yeah, if you're looking to get into VR, that's just a great entry point. And the 3S, like again, I haven't played a full playthrough, but as
Mhm.
far as I was aware, there weren't like major hitches or hiccups. I ran into a couple of bugs here and there. I ran into some frame rate issues, but for the most part, I had a pretty smooth playthrough when I jumped through the game here at home.
Yeah. $400 Canadian, so cheaper than
Oh,
a PlayStation Pro.
yeah, there you
So
go.
just
There you
put
go.
it that way.
Yeah,
You could get two of them if you wanted to and have
there
money
you
left
go.
over.
There you
There
go.
you go. You know. Caboose, what's going on for you for the rest of the week?
Not much. I'm gonna play through some more Batman Arkham Shadow, and I am going to jump into the Alan Wake DLC. I'm hyped for that.
Yes, I started that.
I'm on like a Telltale binge as well. Like I just played Wolf Among Us for the first time. Finally, freaking love that game. Now I'm jumping through Batman Telltale for the first time,
Yeah.
and I didn't love the first couple episodes, but episode 4 was like amazing. So I don't know. I'm just on a weird little like Telltale binge lately. Maybe
Hell
just to
yeah.
hype myself up for Wolf Among Us 2 that's seemingly never
That
gonna
is
come out.
that's not canceled. They have to
Yeah,
remind people, which is good. So I
here's
totally
hoping.
forgot about that. Yeah, no, no.
But yeah, that's it. That's it for me. You can check
Awesome.
me out on youtube.com/caboose, Twitter and Instagram at CabooseEK.
Are you gonna put any of your playthrough on your channel as well for Batman, or?
I might stream it. I don't know how much more I'm
Okay.
going to be posting on YouTube for the game, but yeah, I have some plans.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Emil, what's going on?
Nothing.
More Popeye
Nothing
sticks.
much. More Popeye sticks, getting ready
Mm-hmm.
for Halloween. I'll probably be streaming this week more Echoes of Wisdom. Now that I'm back, and I don't think I'm traveling for a while, and honestly, just getting into the cozy game spirit, right? Like I feel like this
okay.
time in the seasons, it's like, okay, now we have good excuses to stay home and play games all day, like when we're not working, right? Or doing important things in front of our computer. So I'm just excited for that.
If you want to play a cozy game, you can play Fear the Spotlight, made by
No.
Cozy Games. What? Why not?
Because it's scary.
What?
Damn.
It's scary.
The comedy game.
So no Alan Wake 2.
Yeah,
for you.
but it's still like, oh my gosh, like I've been thinking of getting Silent Hill.
Oh my god,
But-
me too.
It's so
I'm considering
good.
it, but I'm also like, how
I
stressed
know.
out do I
So
want to be?
good.
Exactly. So I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get like. I have a bunch of friends where we played like all of the horror games together, like different Resident Evils. We played. Oh my gosh, Camera Obscura. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Can't remember right now, but. I'm gonna have to get them over so I can play Silent Hill too, because I just can't right now. Like it looks so good, but then I'm like, I can't. It has to be daylight.
Yeah.
All
Good
the
luck
lights
with
on.
that. You only have a
You
couple
need the lights
hours.
on. Oh my god, don't remind me. Don't
You only have
remind
a
me.
couple hours a day. Like, good luck. Good luck with
Sun's
that one.
going. Oh.
Sun's going any minute now. You know. But no, I've been playing that actually. It's really good. It just came with an update as well for PS5 and PC as well, so it'll be running a little bit better. On top of that, I saved the Alan Wake DLC, the one that came out Night Springs. That one's really cool. I played that one last night. I'm gonna play steakhouse tonight. So
Sweet.
I was super excited looking to that. And then Sonic came out as well. I loved my Sonic games with the Shadow and everything. Got to play that. I got the highest rating. I think IGN gave it a 9, which is people are losing their mind. IGN gave it 9 to something. So
Era of Sonic, yeah.
no,
of
it's year of Shadow.
Yep.
Oh yeah, technically, yeah.
No one cares for Sonic apparently. I don't know.
Sonic's cool too.
He is cool, especially with our boy Roger was played Sonic once. He was a Sonic. So there you go. But yeah, there's so many games coming out. And then Dragon Age is next week, so
Lots to look forward to.
it's over, man. I'm never going out after tomorrow. So
No.
that's it. Call of Duty. Oh my god. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll all see you. We'll all see you here next week, everyone. All right, take care.